Alright guys, so what I want to show you all right now is just a couple easy ways to kind of set up your GPS and how I kind of like to set my GPS. So what I did is I dropped it in simulator mode real quick, so you'll actually get a chance to see bottom, you'll get a chance to see some maps and some moving around. And so what we're looking at today is the Hook 7 by Lowrance with the Navionics Plus chip already installed. And so this is really the best value of the three different ones you can go with. You can get the 7X, which is a fish finder only. You can get the Hook 7 with base maps, or for an additional $70, you can go ahead and get the one with the chip that you drop in there. And I highly recommend that because if you want to purchase that chip at a later date, that chip's going to cost you almost $200. So you're better off spending the $70 up front versus spending the $200 later when you realize you might need that chip. So I want to kick it off right off the bat, and I'm going to show you a couple common functions that are on this. I've turned it on. It'll give you the little warning saying don't use this as primary navigation. You just hit the enter button, and then it's going to be wherever you left it off. So one of the things I like to show people is if you hit the power button, which is down here in the bottom corner, I'm going to hit that, and you can see you get a couple different options here on your pop-up menu. You can adjust the brightness. And typically whenever I'm fishing late or early in the morning or late at night, I keep my brightness down around 3. If it's the middle of the day, I'll go ahead and kick this thing all the way up to 10. You can put it in standby mode to save your battery, and then of course you have the option of powering off. And you're going to use your cursor up here to kind of just move from option to option. Once you select what it is you're looking for, you can hit enter. So in this case, I decided to close the menu. I'm going to leave it right here for the brightness so it's easy to see on the screen. So the next button you have is this Pages button right here. And what the Pages button does is basically like your view. So when I hit that, all of my options are going to pop up here on the bottom. So I'll move it all the way over to the left and kind of show you all the options we have. The first option is going to be your navigation. So if I'm following a specific trail or I'm going to a specific waypoint, this is going to give me my compass, and it'll give me a little road inside where the white circle is. So I can follow my path to wherever it is I'm headed. And then of course it'll give me a lot of other information down the side. Estimated time of arrival, speed over ground, closing distance, the distance I've traveled, lots of different information like that. And I can set all that overlay data. This is a function that I hardly use on the GPS. The next one, if you hit Pages again, I can come over here and I can look at down scan. So I like to look at the green screen here with the green contrast. It's easy for me to see in the brightness of the day, and it's easy for me to see under my polarized glasses. So what this is the down scan straight underneath the unit. Everything that I directly pass over the top. So if you look here across this screen, you can see I've got little peaks and valleys going up and down the screen. Right here, this would be grass coming up off that bottom. And then the little tiny dots that you see kind of sitting out in the middle, those are going to be fish. And the down scan technology is great. It does come in a couple different functions here. Right now I've got it set at 800 kilohertz, and that's where I like to have the unit set when I'm normally using it. And you can see across my overlay data, I've got 57 feet, kind of jumping around 58 feet. My water temperature is something else that I pay attention to. And then of course the volts that I've got left on the battery. So you can see my battery is really close to dying already. And then of course I like to put the time down here at the bottom, and that just really works for me. I have it set on auto depth or auto range. So on auto range, it's going to automatically find the bottom for me and go just a little bit farther. So when I keep jumping around between 50 and 60, it's going to go ahead and set to 80 so I can see the entire water column. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So this right here is going to be your traditional fish finder that you're used to seeing. I have this set up with heavy contrast. So if you'll notice these peaks and valleys like we just saw, but you'll also notice here where it looks like it just continues on. So when you're looking at your traditional fish finder, it's kind of hard to tell, is that grass or what kind of feedback am I getting from my fish finder? So that's why I like to use them in unison. Of course, you can see your independent bait fish out there. Now, of course, this is also set on auto range, so it's automatically going to find the bottom. Now, one of the things I like to do on this particular unit is you need to set your fishing mode. And what I'm talking about that is, what is the depth of water you're going to fish in? I typically fish in 60 feet or less. So I have it set to shallow water mode, meaning I'm gonna fish in 100 feet and less is what that setting is for. But because I fish in less than 60, that's why I set it to the shallow water mode. So you can see sitting out here in the open, there is some sort of fish. And all of this is gonna be some sort of structure coming up off of the bottom. All right, let's take a look at the next function. So this is your map. And as you can see on the map, it's already following a trail that has been put down previously. And it does have zoom in, zoom out functions up here in the top corner. So I can zoom in a little bit tighter. And all these thin black lines you're seeing are basically your contour lines. This is telling me how fast it's getting deeper, or in the opposite case, how quick is it getting shallower. So the tighter those lines are, the steeper that edge is. The farther apart that line, the less of a slope there might be. So way up here is at 13 feet, way down here is at about 150 feet, and where my trail is traveling, again, I've got my depth at 60 feet. All right, and of course I have it set for north up. You can set it for navigation up, but I prefer to always have north facing up. So if we hit pages again to go to our next screen, this one right here is going to be half fish finder, your chirp function, and half map. And something that's very cool is that you can actually control the distance that this goes from side to side. So I don't need a very big map, so I like to see more of my fish finder. So I can control the size of the screen. And you can do that by hitting pages and hitting menu, and it'll allow you to scroll down and hit panel size. Once you're in that panel size function, that's where it allows you to control the size of your screen. So I have it set to about 1/3 versus 2/3. And just hit enter and it'll escape you out of there. All right, let's look at the next screen. So again, this is sort of the same thing. This is going to be your down scan with your maps. Very similar. Again, you can adjust the size of the panels. You can also, if I hit pages again and hit that menu function, I can also change them. I can set it to where they go over the top of each other, where I'll have my down scan running across the bottom and my map on top. I only like that in really shallow water. I want to be able to see that water column in high detail. That's why I go side by side. So again, to change that back, from the pages menu, I will hit the menu button again, and I will choose my page split, and I will put it to side. All right, so our next screen is one of my favorite to look at, and I have this one set 50/50. This is your depth finder and your down scan at the same time. And the reason I like this is because if you'll notice on the fish finder, you see all this structure coming up. It's hard to tell, is there a fish there on the side? You look at your down scan imaging next to it and you can see that that is just grass. But what you didn't pick up over here is that there are 3 fish hanging out there. So I like to look at both of these at the same time. This one catches my eye to what might be there. This one tells me what's actually there. And so that's why I like to use these in unison. You'll notice these 3 fish out there just show up as tiny little dots. So it's very difficult to have those pop up. Now, say you go over the top of a piece of structure that you really like. You find that grass bed, you find that rock pile, maybe there's some sort of lay down log. The best thing about that is you can go straight to your cursor and you can move your cursor exactly where it was, hit the enter button, and it'll allow you to put a waypoint right there. So you can see your waypoint popped up. You can name it whatever you want. You can use whatever icon you want. But what's really cool about that is that's going to pop up on your map now. So I can go back at any time and view my map to make sure that I'm fishing that exact spot over and over again. All right, so when it freezes like that, when you set it, to get out of that, you're going to hit menu and exit cursor mode. And it'll automatically jump you right back to live footage. And of course, the last thing I like to look at, and this one I like a lot whenever I'm going to a new place, is I like to have my map here so I can see my contours. Maybe there's something like a little deep pocket, maybe there's a steep ledge, and I can look at real time what I'm going over the top of. So I like to use these when I'm traveling to and from and exploring new areas. Once I get to a new area that I really like, I will return back to my split screen with fish finder on this side and down scan on this side. Alright guys, so that's just a quick overview of what the different pages allow your GPS to do. If you got any questions, please comment below. If you liked this video and thought it was very helpful, give me the thumbs up. Otherwise, please don't forget to subscribe, and as always, we'll see you next time.